Miles woke up to a nightmare. Guns were bolted into his arms, rendering him unable to perform even the simplest tasks. Panic set in as he struggled to comprehend his situation. In a frantic attempt to call for help, he accidentally fired a shot. Quickly, he realized that each gun had only 50 bullets. Just as suddenly, his phone buzzed with a mysterious text message. "Welcome to Schism." Miles was informed that his opponent was Nyx, and he had 24 hours to eliminate her. Failure would result in his own death, and attempting to leave the city would yield the same fatal consequence. The previous night, Miles had been living a mundane life as a coder. He spent his days removing offensive content from the internet, working under a demanding boss who seemed to take pleasure in making his life difficult. Seeking excitement, Miles had stumbled upon Schism, an online platform where people could anonymously confront internet bullies. However, in a moment of carelessness, he had revealed his IP address, unwittingly inviting trouble into his life. The consequences of his actions had been severe. The bad guys had tracked him down, kidnapped him, and transformed him into a reluctant participant in a sinister game. Miles was now forced to fight for his life, entertaining the dark desires of Skizm audience. Nyx, Miles' opponent, was a formidable and unsettling figure. At just 13 years old, Nyx had been deemed criminally insane, a chilling indicator of the darkness that lurked within. Recently, Nyx had managed to escape from a maximum security facility, a testament to their cunning and resourcefulness. Since then, Nyx had gained notoriety as the most successful contestant in the underground fight club, Skizm. Their reputation was built on a trail of brutality and violence, striking fear into the hearts of all those who dared to oppose them. Nyx's participation in Schism was a twisted game of survival, where they reveled in the chaos and bloodshed that surrounded them. As Miles struggled to pee with guns bolted to his arms, Nyx was busy disguising herself as a police officer. She infiltrated the police station, using the computers to track down Miles' location. Meanwhile, Miles' efforts to put on his pants were thwarted by the cumbersome guns. Frustrated, he gave up, attempted to walk out the door. That's when he faced off with Nyx, who had found him. She began shooting at him, sending Miles running for his life. Desperate to escape, Miles tried to reason with Nyx. "Please, don't shoot me." He pleaded, "I don't want to be part of this game. I was forced into it by some strangers I upset online." Nyx seemed unconvinced by Miles' explanation, her expression unyielding. Realizing he needed to act fast, Miles spotted a TV and grabbed the remote, quickly unmuting it to create a diversion. The sudden noise gave Miles an opportunity to escape. Meanwhile, Ritker had a drone following Miles and Nyx, live-streaming their actions for the viewers. Miles ran frantically from Nyx and stumbled upon a group of police officers. Desperate for help, he tried to approach them, but with guns bolted to his hands, they mistook him for lunatic wielding firearms. The viewers found Miles' helpless situation entertaining, and some began to root for him, amused by his awkward predicament. Miles was chased by the police officer and, in a panic, accidentally fired a shot, hitting the officer. Despite the chaos, Miles rushed to the officer's side to help before fleeing the scene. He sprinted towards the park, where he spotted his ex-girlfriend, Nova, sitting in her car. Miles dashed towards the vehicle and threw himself inside, startling Nova. Just as Miles tried to compose himself and act normal, Nyx appeared out of nowhere, wielding a bazooka. Miles' eyes widened in terror as he struggled to maintain a facade of calmness in front of Nova. Miles attempted to explain the bizarre situation to Nova, but before he could finish, he gestured with his hands, revealing the guns bolted to his wrists. Nova's eyes widened in horror as she took in the sight. She let out a blood-curdling scream and frantically scrambled out of the car, desperate to escape Miles and the ominous guns attached to him. Miles, feeling defeated, hid in a nearby dumpster where he found some discarded clothes. Overwhelmed by his situation, Miles considered taking his own life, but a wise and kind-hearted homeless man, who had been watching from a distance, intervened. The man shared his own struggles and of words of encouragement, convincing Miles to reconsider his decision. Together, they managed to dress Miles in the found clothes. Meanwhile, Nova rushed to the police station, still shaken by her encounter with Miles. She reported the incident to the authorities, recounting Miles' story about being forced to participate in a twisted game. The police officers listened intently, and to Nova's surprise, they believed Miles' tale. It turned out that the police had been investigating this mysterious game, known as SKIZM, for years, and Miles' story matched the patterns they had observed. The homeless man's kindness and guidance helped Miles regain his confidence. With a newfound sense of determination, Miles decides to return to his workplace, seeking help from his colleagues. He approached them discreetly and asked for advice on how to prevent being traced. One of his colleagues, an IT expert, offered to help Miles disable the tracker on his phone, while also showing him how to easily reactivate it if needed. Just as they were discussing the details, Miles' boss appeared, ridiculing him in front of the entire team. Miles had enough of his boss's condescending attitude. Summoning his courage, Miles revealed the guns bolted to his hands, and in a bold, assertive tone, told his boss exactly what he thought of his behavior. The office fell silent, with all eyes fixed on Miles and his boss. Just as Miles was standing up to his boss, Nix burst into the office, unleashing a hail of bullets that destroyed the workspace. Miles seized the opportunity to escape, commandeering a car chase ensued. The pursuit ended abruptly when the two vehicles collided, sending debris flying everywhere. Miraculously, both Miles and Nix survived the crash. As they faced off, guns drawn, a fierce gunfight erupted. The cacophony of gunfire and screeching tires awakened a traumatic memory from Nix's childhood, one that had been locked away for years. The memory threatening to resurface, and Nix's expression faltered, revealing a glimpse of the vulnerable child she once was. Miles quickly contacted Nova, informing her that he planned to leave town. However, their conversation was short-lived, as Ritker and his goons arrived at Nova's apartment, intent on kidnapping her to prevent Miles from escaping. With Nova's safety at risk, Miles devised a desperate plan to bring an end to the chaos. He contacted the police, arranging a meeting point and deliberately reactivating his phone's tracker, allowing Nix to pinpoint his location. Miles made his way to a local scrapyard, where he stumbled upon a group of gang members engaged in a clandestine meeting. As they trained their guns on him, Nix burst onto the scene, unleashing a hail of bullets that sent the gang members scattering. Amidst the chaos, Miles seized the opportunity to escape. Miles was apprehended by the police, who intended to use him as bait to lure Nix into a trap. However, in a stunning revelation, it was discovered that Nix was, in fact, the daughter of the detective leading the investigation. The detective's vendetta against Ritker stemmed from a past attempt on his family's life, and he had been relentlessly pursuing Ritker ever since. In a shocking twist, the detective's colleague turned against him, revealing that Ritker had infiltrated the law enforcement. The colleague freed Miles, who then made his way to a nearby internet cafe. There, he hoped to find a skilled hacker who could help him track Nova's phone. As Miles entered the cafe, he was surprised to find a fan who recognized him. The fan excitedly informed Miles that he had become an unlikely celebrity, with many people admiring his resilience in the face of adversity. Miles was astonished to discover that his desperate struggle for survival had inadvertently fulfilled his lifelong dream of being famous. Miles cautiously approached a shady van, where Ritker awaited him. With a menacing grin, Ritker tossed a lifeless body towards Miles, who was horrified to think it was Nova. However, it turned out to be one of Ritker's henchmen, executed for disobeying orders. Miles eventually tracked down Nix, and in a last-ditch effort, He attempted to persuade her to join forces and uncover the masterminds behind the sinister game. But Nyx's expression remained cold, and without warning, she pulled the trigger, ending Miles' life and the game. The viewers, who had grown attached to Miles, were stunned and heartbroken by his sudden demise, mourning the lose of their beloved player. Rutger dispatched a cleanup crew to dispose of Miles' body and another team to eliminate Nyx. Unbeknownst to them, Rutger had sinister plans to make Nova his new star player. However, in a stunning twist, Miles miraculously regained consciousness. He managed to free himself and made his way to Nyx, opening the door to her would-be assassins. As it turned out, Miles and Nyx had staged his death to infiltrate Rutger's facility and bring down the operation. Nyx had been swayed by Miles' revelation about her father's death and the true masterminds behind the game. United in their quest for justice, Miles and Nyx formed an unlikely alliance, ready to take on Rutger and his cohorts. Nyx and Miles launched a fierce assault on Rutger's goons, and news of Miles' resurrection and alliance with Nyx sent Rutger into a panic. Desperate to protect himself, Rutger deployed his entire army of henchmen. However, Nyx and Miles proved to be a formidable team, taking down the goons with swift efficiency. As they fought their way through Rutger's operation, Miles and Nyx discovered that Rutger planned to take Schism global. Although they attempted to shut down the game, it was too late. In a bold move, they decided to reactivate the game, exposing Rutger's entire operation to the world. As the game went live, Rutger tried to escape with Nova, but Nyx made the ultimate sacrifice. She single-handedly took dozens of Rutger's henchmen before detonating a bomb that eliminated the remaining goons, clearing a path for Miles to follow Nova's trail to the rooftop. There, Miles faced off against Rutger in an intense battle. Rutger fired the first shot, sending Miles spinning, but Miles refuses to yield. With unyielding determination, he stood up and continued to fight, ultimately defeating Rutger. The movie concluded with a shot of Miles' transformation into a real-life hero. Watch our next video.